Welcome to the Way We Work podcast. My name is Praise, and I'm so excited that we get to spend some time together chatting through what it looks like to just be missional in the workplace, but also just keep growing. Our conversation today is centered around Ecclesiastes 3, and we're talking about a time to plan. So Maria Lasoi, please tell us just a little bit about yourself, because if I'm to introduce you, I think it will make some people nervous. It'll make you nervous.
My name is Maria. I am a researcher. I'm a writer. I'm learning to start owning.
Yes, I am.
So, yeah.
That's like 3 books.
Yes.
3 books now. Officially official. You are a writer.
And I'm passionate about young women and discipleship.
Yes. I'm so excited that we're in conversation together. I think you're somebody that I look at sort of like your love for God, but just the way that you sort of put things together. You have a full-time job on top of being a wife, a mother, and then you also are writing and consistently writing.
Yeah.
And I think it's so amazing to look at all the ways you bring all those things together. So it's such an honor, I think, to be in conversation with you in this way. We're going to start with an icebreaker because we are in a series about, just what it looks like. Ecclesiastes 3 talks about there's a season. And there's different times on earth for different things. And I think when you're working in any space, there's multiple times where you're sort of like, building, there's times to transition. And so today our focus is a time to plan, which I'm like, it's amazing that it's still the beginning of the year. It's not a time to plan. Everybody's resolutioning and deciding what the year is going to look like. So we have a little icebreaker here that's just going to help us sort of get into our conversation. And so this is yes or no. So what would you rather, right? So structure or flow? Structure or flow? I would say structure too, although sometimes I feel like I'm more flow.
Yeah.
Routine or inspiration?
Routine with some inspiration as with structure.
I love it. Long-term plan or short-term goals?
Long-term plan.
Really? Okay. Why?
Because in a long-term plan, you can structure your short-term goals based on
the long-term. Okay. I feel like I love short-term goals. There's an excitement when I get started. Yes, I'm like so excited. I'm like, I did that. Long-term, I get bored. I'm like, we're still planning for that.
Are we there yet?
Follow the plan or adapt as you go.
In theory, it's follow the plan, but in reality, you just adapt.
It's true. Flexibility is key, and I think this is something that I've had to grow in. Yeah. Because I think it's important to keep sort of just that flexibility to know that things can change and it's okay. Morning person or night owl? Wait, let me guess.
It was always morning person, but then now it's forced because of my daughter. Mom Bakadla. So it's morning person.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a night owl. Really, truly. Finish one thing or start many? Guess mine.
Start many.
Yep.
People to start many,
Like I'm never reading one book. I get so bored. So like right now there's 5 books by my nightstand and I'm just reading through all the books at the same time. Yes. Because why not? One is boring. Write it down or keep it in your head.
Write it down.
Yes. Please write it down. I will forget my own name. Plan alone or plan with people?
Plan alone and then invite others.
I'm okay planning alone till the end.
Less chaos.
Less chaos. 2 more to go. Stick to the plan or trust the moment?
Stick to the plan.
Yeah. I have some moments. It depends what we're doing. I think my work self is very much like stick to the plan. But I think my social self is like, let's go. Let's just move around from restaurant to restaurant. Dream first or act first?
Dream first.
I'm an act first. I'm those people. It's like after I have acted, then I'm like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have. Maybe we should have reeled this. Yeah. So when you think about planning, like just historically in sort of like your work, what does planning look like for you? When you think about your career, where it's at now, did you have this picture that you would be a researcher, an author, you would be a podcaster? Did you have a blueprint and you followed it, or have you sort of like just adopted and shifted to different things?
I think I've kind of had a blueprint.
Yeah.
So years ago, I did some class on global missions. And so that professor said, I need everyone here to write down a mission statement where you're led. And so you make a mission statement. Say an organization has one, and so you write down based on what you believe God's called you to do. Whether it's based on your personality, your gifts, experiences, and then you tie it back into what we're all called to do as believers. And so once I developed that, it helped to guide me. So when job opportunities come, does it align to my mission statement? If I want to write a book, does it align to my mission statement? So that's what's helpful for me to plan and accept or say names with different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, talking about disappointments, because so I'm the queen of having a plan, and I love having my plan. And I think I have wrestled often when the plan I've had, even for my career, has not necessarily been, what the reality is. And I think sometimes there's a tension of like where you thought you would be versus where you are. So talk to me a little bit about, having the blueprint, following the blueprint, and then the disappointment. How do you come back from disappointment?
Honestly, I feel like it's such a relevant convention for me now. Yeah, because up until yesterday, I was arrested in court about specific kinds of things that if budget happened, that it is. But it can become so disillusioned when you stop planning. You're like, you know what? I've tried, I've planned, I've prayed over my plan, and it don't happen. Yeah. And something that God was reminding me recently yesterday afternoon, but is that, there's this quote that he tends to say often, of man plans and God laughs.
Yes.
But it's not in the Bible. It's really not.
Proverbs 16:9 is, like you plan, but it's the Lord who orders your steps, but he doesn't laugh. Yes. He doesn't laugh.
And so up until yesterday, he had to be reminded, Maria, I will order your steps. And if you look in that Jeremiah 29:11, he has a good plan. Plans for good, not for evil. So he told me, yes, I will order your steps. That's where your goodness will be, but I don't lack at you. And so that was so helpful for me to navigate disappointment. Wow. So for me, when plans don't work out, I take it back to God and to wrestle. The Bible has so many examples of the Psalms and Lamentations of people who go back and say, God, this is not happened just based on God. Yes. And I grieve it. Yes. And I take it now to my community. And I dream again. Like I'm not getting stuck in the
yeah. That's so good, because I think so. I've been serving for 5 years with Gen Z. Love it to bits and pieces, truly. But I think one of the things that I've watched sort of like happen culturally is you have so many young people making it big, whether that's in Hollywood, whether that's, just in different fields, creative fields, STEM. And so I've watched the pressure in society sort of like heighten, because I've watched people feel like I need to figure this out now. And then have such a clear direction after high school. This is what I will do. Yeah. And then now the tension of maybe you don't get called to the university, but you go to your parents can't afford. And I think we have a lot of people just on the continent who are in jobs that they didn't even study for, they didn't get a degree for, or just the way life has sort of mapped out. That's not where they are. So I love what you're saying, this idea of we can pivot and really trust in God that there's a plan in the moment and not getting stuck there. But in those moments for you, when you have planned and the plan has not gone the way you intended, what has bounded you to remain hopeful or just willing to continue?
For me, it keeps going back to Romans 8.
Yeah.
Like he calls all things, every single thing together for good. So when I've had to pivot, it's only like hindsight is 2020, right? It's just only years down the line when maybe it's a job I'd wanted and I was go back to school, whatever it was. It only needed like, oh God, I can see what you were doing. Yeah, all of that is happening. I can see why maybe you let me have this specific experience. I prepared me for this other thing that was outside of my career at school. So yeah, that's been helpful.
I think at the start of the year, everybody wants to know, are goals overrated? Because we make resolutions and a lot of people are like, listen, so when you work in any Christian space, people will have the best ideas, like January to Easter, January to April. The gyms are full. We're eating healthy. A lot of people are fasting. Church is full, and then I don't know what happens after April. It's just like decline. So our goals overrated.
I don't think they're very successful. I think because goals are part of planning. Right?
Yes.
And even this master Jeremiah 9:11, but I have the plans. God's a planner. And so that element of JUS planning is both years and having goals is necessary. But what are they grounded in? And what are the micro goals inside of your goals? And what are the community accountability you have around those goals to help you?
To keep you on track.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to lose your train of thought, lose focus as the year goes along. What has been helpful to you, have goals done? I imagine writing a book, Maria.
Yes.
Not one book, 3 books. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
What? And I mean, one of them is like huge. You know,
Yeah.
what is happening? And so, like, what have been those things for you where you've ensured that you have accountability in a community and sort of keeping you on track to ensure that your goals are not just a dream? Because sometimes we could live in, like, you know, setting goals, but at the end of the year, nothing is actually accomplished.
Yeah.
What's worked?
I mean, what's worked is looking at a calendar at the beginning of the year. I mean, no, like maybe my job gets super stressful during a specific season, like it's super busy.
Yeah.
So I know that can be a writing time. So I block off the slower months for like writing.
Okay.
I try to find like, okay, maybe twice in a month, I just go to a coffee shop for 2 hours. And I have to tell someone for accountability.
Yeah. This is what I'm doing.
This is what I'm doing. And then also like sharing, and it's very vulnerable, like with writing, that you're sharing your chapters as they come along. Because sometimes you get stuck like, okay, this isn't
Not
something.
perfect.
Yes, it stays in your folder on your laptop.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's been super helpful for me. Like the bigger plan of in this year, I think there was 3 months.
Yes. And then breaking it down.
Breaking it up, but it also means that you communicate to everyone around you. For these 3 months, my social engagement is lower. I'm not going to be out as much. I'll be responsive, but then I'm taking on fewer things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love the idea of thinking about a plan. Let's say is a plan that we're not sort of like randomly moving through life.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes it can feel like that. So much is happening around us. We get overwhelmed. And it can feel like we're just sort of like randomly moving through life. And then sometimes planning for some people, depending on your personality, could also feel like it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like putting things down, writing it out. I know there's people who, you know, like me, they're just like, could we just go with the flow? Let's just try. Let's see where life sort of takes us.
Yeah.
And so what would you say to someone who's maybe wanting to plan, but is just just even the thought of putting it down on paper, blocking out time, when you're saying inviting community to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
They're like, I have all these things I would love to do, but when I get down to actually writing them down, I just feel overwhelmed. Like the anxiety just stops them.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone like that?
I'd say you can start small.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be like a huge giant project. It could be something as simple as planning. Maybe in 3 months, I want to learn a specific recipe. I want to trade for this America.
Yeah.
And then making micro plan around that.
About it.
Because then those like dopamine hits of, oh, I can't, and I cross it off and it happened.
Yeah.
Make you feel like, okay, now I can try and plan for the next bigger thing. And then the next one. So that helps.
Yeah. So rhythms.
Rhythms.
Okay. So when I think about planning, I think about rhythms. And the African in me thinks about, you know, like any beat you put on, we can dance to anything. God just blessed us like that over here.
Yeah.
And so I love thinking about, you know, planning sort of like in a rhythmic form so that you're consistently doing things that don't happenstance, but they're sort of following a genuine flow.
Yeah.
So what are some rhythms that you would look at 2026 and say, I would love to grow in these rhythms in the workplace, but also in your personal life? What are some rhythms that you're like, these are good rhythms to start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, there's a specific skill I want to grow in terms of my work. So I want to be an analysis, like to do.
Okay, researcher. Really think you're so like on it.
No, I really want to, because part of my goal is I want to be able to explain data better. And the more I sit with that data, the more I'm able to internalize it and explain it to on auditors. So for me, that's micro step is like, okay, how do I get a Udemy or whatever these coincides are, and then actually practice some analysis. And how do I ask my career mentor, who's actually my supervisor, that they, hey, I've just done smoother project, what do you get? So that's on the more front, like wanting to learn that skill. But I also want to bring communication in my career and public speaking. So yeah.
It's just crazy because you do it so well.
It's always a miracle.
I hear you and I'm like, Maria, that sounds so good.
So what are the small things I can do and the small things I can say yes to?
Yeah.
That's preparing. You know, what's about big stage, but what are the small things in the course of the year that can help me growing that? So that's career-wise, but related to career, but more exact.
Yeah.
Is in health.
Speak on me.
Yes. So I feel like for me, my goal this year is to learn a sport.
Okay, from scratch. Okay.
And-
Pickleball.
Yeah, actually pickleball.
Okay.
Yes.
It's really big right now.
It is,
I don't
it
get it,
is.
but I'm like, it's like tennis and it's table tennis.
Yeah, and
it's
paddle
just
tennis.
paddle.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my goal. Partly because I want to be more agile in my environment. Because there I'm practicing like hand-eye coordination.
Yes.
I want to be outside.
It's good.
I want to be visual, so that's gives me a new community of people outside, the people that I'm used to.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
I love that because I really do think when we think about creating rhythms and we're not sort of like aiming really high, I always think with planning, with the lower you start, aiming sort of like in a more realistic line, sort of creates muscle. And as you build muscle over time, then you have capacity to sort of stretch it out. And so the idea of building this rhythm of like, how do we start small and that's, that catapult and become bigger, I think makes quite a difference. Now, when you think about Ecclesiastes 3, sort of like being this anchored chapter for our conversation, and you think about a time to plan, what are just some thoughts that came to your mind when you thought about, wow, God is inviting us to plan? Knowing full well that we're limited, I think there's something so special in that invitation. I'm limited. I don't know the future. I don't know the economy, where we'll be economically in a month's time. I don't know even social-politically when it comes to wars, rumors of wars. I don't know where we'll be. But here's this invitation from God. Hey, you could plan. What just was living in your mind when you thought about a time to plan?
I think about that scripture that says, teach us to number our days, to represent for you a heart of wisdom. And he's a man, he's in this book, Wilson's. He has a book, but he says that a wise man knows the length of his tether.
That's good.
So meaning that I am here today in January 2026, and we are one step closer to the end of our time for eternity.
Every day?
Yeah, so meaning that if I had X amount of time left, how can I steward? Because planning is stewardship of time and resources.
Yes.
So when I think about planning, and there's a time for every day, it's like, what are the things God's placed around me? And how do I be proactive about those things? Because without a plan and just being, time is going, I need to do not to direction, resources.
Things fall in between the gaps.
Your energy, don't know where to give the energy to. So I think it's such an important part, like that being able to, stewarding my time. I hear that I'm here for X amount of years. God may increase them, or they may be less than I thought. But it's like the concept of Jesus, when it says that Jesus set his face towards Jews. That was an intentionality of what his mission was and directing himself in that direction. So
that framework of stewardship, because I think it's easy to only think about planning when it sort of concerns us or when we have something we're working towards. But the awareness that we're consistently having to plan, because we don't know how long we're here. You could be at a new job, you don't know how long you're at a new job. You could have people, stewardship over community, stewardship over family. It's just so real because people, sometimes it's us who are moving away and sometimes it's us who, are having health challenges, but sometimes it's also the people that we're in community with.
That's true.
And it's making sure that we have capacity to tap into them in meaningful ways, 100% to speak well of them, and they're also able to speak well of us.
100%. Because when I think about it in career, there's times when, let's say it's an organization, you don't know how long you'll be there for.
I've never known. So there's places where I showed up first day and I thought, I'm going to be here forever.
Oh, my life.
Always there the shortest amount of time.
And so you got to, one is that self-awareness. Okay, this is what I bring to the table in my gifts, my experience, my skills. How can I further the mission of this organization for the time that I'm here? So you're stewarding your time, they align to that mission. So when it's time, the time ends and the season ends and transition happens.
There's no regrets.
You're like, I gave everything I had to this mission.
Maria, thank you. Thank you for your wisdom and your insight. I think there's just such value here at the start of the year. I think not to be overwhelmed with planning or even thinking about, a project that somebody has and thinking, oh my God, this is overwhelming. But breaking it down to smaller bits, starting small, and then knowing that it always compounds over time. Inviting community, keep tabs on your plan. I think if your plan only lives in your head, then it's not going to go far. But when we're able to say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, would you come alongside me? Could we walk together if I'm trying to get healthy? Could we sit down and have some interviews if I'm trying to, just build my portfolio, get enrolled? There's such value, I think, in involving community. So just thank you so much for sharing more with us. This has been lovely, and I pray that you have gotten something for this, whether it's for your workplace or your personal life. And I just think that we can start planning today. And as long as we have community, it's possible to plan and fulfill the goals. So thank you for sitting with us.